First question. How did the band originally come together?
It's a long answer, or a very short one. It's a long time ago. Kieran and Paul, the guitar player and the bass player, sorry. They started playing together in the end of 1987 when they were little kids, 12 or 14. Just like a kind of teenage thrash band. They're still playing together. I joined the band then. They got a little bit more serious in 91. So I joined in the summer of 91. And the three of us are still the same three. And then Simon came in 96 or 7 to play the drums, and Mick in 2000. So we started pretty young, but it's nearly 30 years. So, yeah, I'm not going to go through every album and every year, but yeah, it's been a long, over 2/3 of my life, really, so, well, about 2/3, yeah, So, yeah, the band really begins, I guess, the summer of 91, so.
What was that initially sparked your interest in heavy music?
I guess for me, it was an uncle. Oh yeah, it was an uncle who was into hard rock at the time, or maybe 1983, 84, who oddly enough got out of it and got into New Romantic and gave me a bunch of 7 inches, a bunch of cassettes and a few other things. And so I was about maybe 8 or 9 and into UFO. UFO, some of the 7 inches I got, Wishbone Ash, Rush, Sabbath, ZZ Top, that kind of thing. And then I just sort of stayed with the hard rock into AC/DC, and then it fell into Priest and Maiden and, all that kind of stuff. And so then I guess, again, I was pretty early, so then by maybe end of 86, 87, Metallica, Megadeth, Slayer, then it kept on going, Dark Angel, Bathory, stuff like that, thrash stuff. So it's I don't know, the romantic answer is that the first time I ever put the needle on the first Iron Maiden album, I knew, that's it, I'm done. And that was about 1985 or 6 or something, 10, 11, something like this, 12. Yeah, it's always, that's just always what I can remember as long as I've remember liking music, always been drawn to hard rock kind of stuff, at the beginning when I was a little kid. It's not a super exciting story, but you know what I mean.
Next question is the aesthetic of the band.
Oh yeah.
I'm specifically referring to the logo and the makeup you use, which is sort of reminiscent of black metal, but at the same time very different from it. I was wondering sort of how it ties into your music and your lyrical themes.
Well, the thing was that even when we started the band, I was always more drawn to, I suppose, bands with a particular aesthetic and an image. I was far more drawn to Celtic Frost than Testament and Bathory instead of, I don't know, Zentrix or something. So when we started the band, we didn't want to be, like typical death metal at the time, so we're trying to add a little bit of Irish traditional music mixed with this sort of epic scale of Bathory, with the influenced by the early black metal scene. So there's no doubt that we're very close to black metal. In 91, 92, the bands that, like our demo was 93, so we maybe missed that 92 school of 92 by maybe, well, obviously a year. So that's obviously what we're very close to, and I still feel that's the closest thing I am to. But of course, Primordial is a little bit different, you know. But I was never really into the going on the stage as you stand in the street kind of aesthetic, you know. And also, so, you know, it's part tradition. It's part the tradition of heavy metal, at least the kind of heavy metal that I identify with, you know, this. And also part of, you know, creating this, what you call it, like I guess the fourth wall, adding a little bit of theatre to what the music is. Then there's also this kind of Jekyll and Hyde analogy of becoming this other, you know, letting this inside outside, so to speak. It's a mixture of things at this stage, and it just wouldn't feel right not to do it. Like I said, it also allows you to take on the archetypes of this persona or whatever, you know. Not that you're playing a character, so to speak, but it raises the tension, raises the drama, raises the intensity, focuses your energy and that kind of thing, you know. Not energy in some sort of neo-spiritual way, the concept of focusing on, you know, literally what you're becoming by applying all the stuff is very good concentration for the physical process or the mental process you're about to do while playing a gig. I'm not into making it all pseudo-spiritual or anything like that, but it definitely focuses your attention and your energy and your, you know, so it's something I feel a bit sort of naked without doing, playing live. You know, it's tradition as well, you know, lots of different things. So, I don't know if that's a satisfying answer, I don't know. You know, but lots of our peers were similar with the things they did, you know. And also it was part of the early pagan metal scene, you know, as well. Black pagan metal scene, before it all became very jolly and happy and stuff, you know. So.
What do you think of the festival?
Yeah, this room is a bit cold, but it's okay. Yeah, I mean, it's unusual for us to be in the middle of lots of new wave of British heavy metal and heavy metal bands and old thrash bands, but it seemed to go okay. You get curious people who are just kind of like not really sure what to make of it, and then I hear some old Bathory epic bits, and I hear some Candlemas and some Sabbath and some slow moving, and I think they understand it's a bit more serious. It's not, you know, pantomime, Dungeons and Dragons, or, you know, that kind of stuff. So they understand that. I think the tone is set that, okay, this is has a bit more gravitas, it's a bit more serious, you know. Because none of the things that we're singing about they're not fictional, they're not mythological, they're not folkloric generally. They're all very much rooted in there has to be some sort of cultural purchase in the present day, you know. So even if they're historical themes or something like this, but the band is definitely not fantasy, it's factual, so to speak. So there's no escape, which is usually what, you know, heavy metal is, you know, the kind of nascent movement of teenage energetic liberty or something. But Primordial is kind of a bit different than that, you know. Anyway, so, I don't know, blah blah blah, whatever.
It's very, very interesting, especially since you said that you sort of have this black metal connection. What you just described is very different from our black metal. Is this the way through?
Yeah, it is, in a way, you know. It is. I mean, you know, we have to understand that the original blueprint of heavy metal is the, you know, it is teenage rebellion. It's alienation. It's embracing being the other, etc., etc. But the timeline with that kind of ends with Primordial, and when you have songs like Coffin Ships, which is a factual, you know, it's about the Irish famine or something. So I never wanted to allow Primordial's not to escape. It's to be immersed even more in the cultural, historical, political wilderness or darkness or whatever. The themes are unrelentingly serious. And so there's no fantasy, there's no mythology. So in those terms, no, there's no, teenage Satanism or anything like that, Even if there are references to biblical myth or the search for, the process of gnosis or whatever you want to say, the spiritual journey, whatever. But primordial sort of states there's no destination or something, like this. So yeah, it's a complicated answer, but yeah, we're kind of at odds with most things. We have a little foot in most things, but are kind of at odds with most of it as well, I think people sense that. They sense like, oh, these are slow-moving hymns to the end of civilization, so to speak, or something, and so there's no, anyway, something like this. There you go. But I still love Wasp, so what are you going to do? It's what it is. It's marrying. It's a mixture of rabble-rouser, part hooligan, part rabble-rouser, part the traditional. See, like for me, heavy metal is like I love the sort of innate energetic transfer of energy of original heavy metal. So I'm inside the bubble, but also outside it, in that I don't want to sing about the same traditional stuff. So if you scrape the surface, there is some sort of intellectual weight to what's going on behind the band as well. So, well, that's okay. I wouldn't ask other bands necessarily to be like we are, but at the same time, it's all there if people want to, and that's why you get people who identify with the band very strongly, because in a sort of world which generally preaches that you should have no connection to your history or culture or tradition, we're preaching exactly the opposite. We're saying, come and be the enemies of the modern world with us. We'll probably have lost the war anyway, so let's at least go down fighting, I suppose, is the message, There you go, it's a good ending. Hope you got something.
Yeah, that was really fucking good.
No problem.
Thank you so much.